Welcome to another episode of the Pepper Soup Talk Show. We bring to the table movers and shakers in the African diaspora. Today we're touching on a different topic. We're going into real estate, and we have someone who has been in the real estate industry for over 8 years. And he's a real estate agent, investor, contractor, consultant, wears many hats and has a wealth of information to share. He believes that your first property should be an apartment building. So, we're interested to hear, what he has to say about how to make that happen. But we'd like to welcome to the table today Ugo Opara.
Let's go, my African brother. Let's go. No name correction needed. I love it. Let's go.
AKA Ugo The Agent.
Yes.
So welcome to Pepper Soup Talk.
Oh man. First of all, shout out to the actual Pepper Soup. When we was setting this up, they was like, we'll have pepper soup. I was like, did they mean to say that? That's just really, you don't hear that. I've done a couple of these, and it's just, I'm always a fan of getting fed. So shout out to y'all because it was delicious. I appreciate that.
Now we appreciate you being here. I guess just to get right into it, if you could just tell us about your, where you're from and your background, where you grew up.
Yeah. So I'm from Nigeria. I was actually born out that way, and came over here when I was 5. Grew up actually in South Philly, and then a little bit of Delaware County, and then from there just kind of West Philly was the closest to where I was at, and then from there just kind of gravitated towards West, and that's where like most of my properties are at. I did a little stint in the University of Pittsburgh, so I was out in Pitt for like 2 years, and then came back, was a little homesick, amongst other things, and it's been here ever since.
So you when did you come here from Nigeria?
I came here in 93, 94, something
93,
like
94.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was like 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, no
Yes,
accent
yeah.
at all, man. And I don't know if y'all experience this, but the worst thing is so I speak Igbo, but the worst part about like coming here so young is now when you speak your native tongue,
yeah,
you have an accent in your native tongue. I hate that, man. I hate that. But
I mean, it's dope that you do know the language.
Barely. I'm out. Barely. Barely. Don't let my dad hear that.
Okay. So now, you came to Philly, and how'd you get into real estate?
Yeah. So real estate, real estate was one of the.
Because you go by the Philly real estate king.
Philly real estate king, I know.
So
that's the most humblest thing that they had for me to grab on. But real estate just kind of fell on my lap. I think early on, everybody's going to say this, but I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. So, all my life I was groomed to be in medical practice, right? Medical field, whatever the case may be. That's just
Nigerian culture.
Nigerian culture. So I firstborn son, first generation. I fell right into that. The grade was good, well behaved. No police activities. I was a good dude. You know what I mean? So that was the route we went. That's what I went to Pittsburgh to do. Got the wrestling scholarship. I had to maintain GPA, and it was a Nigerian dream. But halfway into that, I was like, yo, this is. It's different. Like, I think for me, when I left high school and went to college, the stakes were just a little different. Like, in high school, I wrestled, but it was for fun.
Just move the mic a little closer.
Okay, cool, yeah. In high school, I wrestled, it was for fun, you know what I mean? But then when I got to college, you would have friends that get cut from the team, and it wasn't like they was able to still stick around. You get cut from the team, you leave in the university. Yeah. You going, because that scholarship was that important. So, it was really sad seeing people that I would train with work so hard and they just wasn't at the collegiate level for whatever reason, and then they would get cut. So it started to not be fun anymore because it's just like, yo, my homies are getting sent home, and I'm like, am I next? It went from being something that you did with your friends, and now it's like, yo, the stakes are down high. Same with wow. Same with the studying, man. I really hit college and was like, man, this is different. This isn't like high school where like I really enjoyed the material. This is like, yo, I gotta ace this test or my GPA is gonna drop and we out of this. You know, we out.
And this is University of Pittsburgh.
University of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, what I realized was like it's not that none of these things were really that tough. It's just that I wasn't truly passionate about them. I really didn't truly care to put in the work. And when I sat back and was like, yo, what is it that I do care about? Or like, you know, what parents aside, I don't. It was a book I was reading at that time. It was like, yo, if everybody died and you had to operate off of just what you cared about, would you still move the same? And I was like, no, not really. Not really. So that really just, I just tore everything up. I moved back. At the time, my parents got divorced as well, so that shook the family as well. So I was like, all right, it's too many signs. So I dropped out of wrestling, dropped out of Pitt, went back, did community for a year, tried to get my mom right. And then at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? It don't even matter what I care about. I just want money, man.
Right.
I just want money. So I started studying capitalism. I started studying money, the dollar, the euro, all this other stuff. It led me like, and I really enjoyed it. And that led me into finance. So I actually graduated with a degree in finance. And as I'm studying, I started to pick up a trend where real estate just kept coming up for most people. Real estate, assets. So I was like, all right, well, let me take a little deeper into this real estate thing. At that time, I think Temple had like a real estate investment club, but it wasn't really popping. It was just like in the infancy stages of it. So I remember going to one meeting.
So did you transfer to Temple?
I transferred to Temple.
Okay.
Yeah, so I breezed over that. University of Pitt for 2 years.
Okay.
Then I went to Delaware County Community College for 1 year.
Okay.
And then I was able to transfer and still hit my 4-year mark at Temple.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I transferred to Temple. I was there for like 1 year.
Yeah.
And shout out to Temple. I mean, I don't know nothing about the campus. I was barely there, but
we're not very far from Temple right now.
So that's how I crept into real estate. And they had one guy. His name was Mr. Brian O'Neill or O'Leary.
Yeah.
And he it was O'Neill. He had O'Neill Properties. And this man was huge. I mean, owned apartment buildings. And I'm like, how does a human being own an apartment building? I'm just like, how much money do you have to have? What's the average salary? How do you know what I mean? So I really started to think like, how do you get this done? And I'm like, I'm not smart enough. Let me find somebody. And this was back when Meetup.com was lit.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all know about Meetup.
Oh yeah.
So I would just go in there, search for real estate groups, pop up, and just bug everybody until someone was willing to share gems with me. And I ran into my mentor who helped really get me started. Okay. His name was Mr. Jerome Washington. He really took me underneath his wing. Started showing me, the trade-off was, trade-off was like, millennials, quote unquote, were so good with technology. Yeah. He was like, listen, you build a website for me and set me up on social media, man, I'll teach you everything I know about real estate. And I'm like, that's all you want.
So is this guy, was he a real estate investor or is he a real estate investor?
He's a real estate investor, yeah.
Okay.
His niche was rooming houses. Okay. So he would go to the sheriff's cell or pick them up however he could, maybe from the sheriff's cell, and he would renovate them and do rooms out of it. Okay. So rooms is great because it's high cash flow. Yeah. Very high cash flow.
So can you highlight what does that mean? Rooming houses?
A rooming house is a house where, like, instead of renting the house in itself, you're basically renting it per room. So he would have a 3-bedroom. He would come in there, chop it up into like maybe a 4-bedroom, maybe even a 5-bedroom if he could, right? And then per room he charge like maybe 100, 110, 125, depending on the size. He would pay for utilities, and he had like a retired vet that would go around and collect the money, dump it in the bank, and just keep it moving. It was a nice little operation, and I was just watching everything, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. This is. I mean, it was. You ever seen the little armored trucks with the duffel bag in them? This is literally what it was like. My man had would have like the vest, the guns. He would pull up in this like tan soccer mom van. Knock on the door. He had the little smart. This is the first time I saw smart locks. He had the smart locks on the door. Type in the code, go in, knock on each door, grab the money, come out, throw it in a duffel bag, head to the next location. And at the time, I I think he had like maybe 16 at the time. So imagine, and each property had at least maybe 3 properties.
Yeah.
So that's what, 3 times 6, what was that, 30, 42, I'm thinking? I don't know if I'm doing my math. No, 3 times is 18 carat. That's 48.
Wow.
So for $100 a week,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay, cool. So he was doing that full time, and then he started doing flips, and then he was like, all right, Ugo, get your real estate license. That way, when I flip a property, I could just have you do it. I was like, whatever.
So I know in Philly, you know, that whole like the whole rooming house conversation is like always ongoing because you know I hear from some people, you know, it's okay to do it, from others it's not. You know, only certain places are zoned for rooming houses. So
Yes.
is it like do you end up being in the gray most of the cases if you're going
Yes,
to rooming
it's
houses?
in the gray. There's no one
Okay.
that's doing rooming houses legally. Only type of designation that gives you rooming houses if your property zone is a boarding.
Got you.
Yeah, or if you have some type of special exemption to do like maybe home health care or something like that. Once you have like the blessing of the city, hey, well, I was doing it 30, he was doing it 30. Nobody really cares. I mean, it just is what it is. In essence, it's like a mini motel almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or short-term rents or something like that. So yeah, 9 times out of 10, I mean, it's dirty. It's in the gray. Not even. It's just in the black. Actually, it's not even. It's not even gray. It's just black. It's just, you know what I mean, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? So yeah, because 9 times out of 10, somebody didn't pay before they got home. The locks was changed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's it's what it is.
It's a cold world.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it still ran very ethically. It's just that you have to be a little. You can't wait on a tenant because in essence you can't rely on the city to come and help you evict them. You gotta take matters.
Have systems in place.
Yeah. But that's what everything systems and processes is
Right.
with everything. I'm sure we'll get into detail about it.
Right. So you say you're working with Jerome, and then you got your license.
Yeah.
Talk to us about
So I love this guy. I mean, we're not in touch as we used to be, but he then has his firstborn.
Okay.
And this man changes, and I love it. He went from like cold hard investor, running plays, to like, let's help the family. And I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
But I got this real estate license. What am I gonna do with this thing? He just kind of let me hang. I mean, what are we gonna do with this thing?
Yeah.
And I remember him introducing me to a broker, like like trying to pass the baton, and it just wasn't a fit. I was like, I don't like that guy. I mean, it's not gonna work out. So I was like, all right, cool. I just no swag. I mean, I want to be a dad like you one day. I love it. I mean, he got his assets in place, his systems and processes are flowing. He got wifey at home. And he has his firstborn, so I love it because I was looking at him like, you know what, that's lit. I want to be just like you. You know what I mean? A provider. I love it. But now I got this real estate license, and I got to figure out what am I going to do with this? And that was a journey in itself. And I remember the first time I told my dad, like, yo, I'm gonna do real estate. I'm gonna do real estate. He was like, what? Do what? I was like, I'm gonna sell houses.
You mean you're not going to medical school?
You're not going to medical school. I brought you all the way from here. And this is what you do and how you repay me. Man, disowned me, and it was just hilarious. It was hilarious. But yeah, so I had the real estate license, and I was just like, all right, well, how do I leverage this to make enough money to actually start picking up the properties? I didn't get into real estate to be a realtor. I got into be an investor, and I was broke at the time, so I was like, all right, cool, let me hustle with this license, and did a couple of things. It was slow. It was very slow. I think at the time it wasn't. Right now,
what time period was this? Like
this was like 2012, 13.
Okay.
13. Yeah, this was 2013.
So that was like, we said that was like the bottom of the market at that time because it was like after the financial crisis and.
I wouldn't say it was the bottom of the market.
Okay.
I think we were just coming out of it.
Okay.
But I do thoroughly enjoy getting my license at that time or being an investor at that time because what was being taught to me at the time was we base everything on what's happening now. The school of investors that came before that time were always focused on like, it's constant appreciation. You could buy it now, and if you're bleeding, it's perfectly fine because it'll appreciate enough where you can just, you'll still make a profit and cover your expenses. And when I was coming through, it was like, man, F that, yo. We don't bank on appreciation. Appreciation is icing on the cake, but
Yeah.
you bank on valuations at the time that you buy the property. You buy on valuations based on the rent that you're getting. Everything is done in the now. There's no assuming anything's gonna go up at all.
So you say it's like that idea of you make money on the buy when people say.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So it was a lot more. My upbringing is more on the super conservative side. We don't even factor in appreciation when we run our numbers. We only factor in loan payoff. We only factor in depreciation. We only factor in cash flow.
Yeah.
And that's it. We don't assume it's going to go up because that's not always the case. You don't know what's going to happen. So to be on the safe side, we just bank on the cash flow and valuations of when we picked up the property.
Okay. So we definitely want to get into the nitty gritty of what I know a lot of people are tuned in to hear about. And first of all, I'd like to just thank everyone who is on the chat and viewing right now. If you like what you've heard thus far and interested in what Ugo has to say, please click the like in the video.
Let's get these likes up, man. Let's go.
I see quite a number of you on here, so we definitely want to see the support. If you don't like what you hear, listen.
Hey, let me know.
It's a free world. You can tell us how we can do better, and but don't click the dislike button. Come on now. And if you can go on your social media and share this with at least one friend, so we can get as many people tuned in as possible to hear what Ugo the Agent has to say. But Ugo, I wanted to tell the story about how I first personally came across you, because Ugo was recommended a number of times by people in the Jollof community, and but I had the opportunity to hear Ugo speak at a Better Than Success Real Estate League
BTS, shout out to Nicole.
presentation last year. Shout out to Better Than Success, and he told this story about basically going from paying $1,000 in rent to making $1,000 from a home that he owned, and the whole process with that, and kind of like how he began accumulating properties. And I think something that would be very helpful for a lot of new investors and new home buyers is learning about how you can get into that first property in a way that can really help you leverage for the long term. And I believe that plays into what you kind of talk about with buying your first home as an apartment building.
Yes.
So you can kind of go into that, what does that look like, and how does one make that happen? Like how do you buy your first home as you said, as an apartment building?
Got you. So my first personal purchase was a like, as in my personal name, was a 4-unit, and it was lit, and we made a lot of money on that. We still own it, still make a lot of money. I'm gonna say we a lot. It's just me. It's just a habit. But the way that you would do it is you would rock with a first-time home buyer program. And even in the era of COVID and pre-COVID, and everyone's outside from quarantine, there's still programs out for people that are looking to bust and move as a first-time buyer. The benefits of a first-time home buyer is that you're putting a lot less down than what you would normally put. And FHA is the one that everyone knows about. VA is another one. USDA, not so much if you're in an urban area. Even PHFA is one that's popping up and doing its thing. But my favorite of them all is NACA. That's the program that, as I was studying, when I got into the full swing of being a realtor, I was trying to figure out, like, man, these loans is kind of like, it's tough if you don't got this much money and this much credit, and you kind of.
Before we go into NACA, he mentioned PHFA and some other programs. So these are all loan products?
These are all loan products. These are all type of loan products. FHA is a loan product. VA is a loan product if you've done your service and you weren't like discharged in a negative way.
So if you're someone who's looking to buy a home, you would apply through like a lender, then they would say, okay, you're eligible for this type of loan product or that type of loan product.
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
then, and then you can use that to purchase a home
Yeah.
for, like a lower upfront cost.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So conventional, depending on who you go with, it's always better to shop around. Everyone that works with me, I give them at least 2 lenders based on their situation. I give them at least 2 lenders because based on different lenders will give you different things because they might have different criteria and different costs and different expenses. So I love putting them against each other. So for every one of my clients, we'll give you at least 2, and then we probably might go with one of the banks. Third one might be a bank that you're rocking with. So we will have 2 people just kind of competing for the business. FHA is lower credit requirements, higher DTI, meaning they give you a little bit more leeway on the amount of debt that you have as it relates to your income. But the downfall of that is you get hit with PMI for the life of the loan, which PMI is private mortgage insurance. PMI is slick. So peep game, this is what PMI is. PMI is you paying for insurance in the event to protect the bank in the event that you default. So if you stop and think about that, that's just kind of wild.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. The first time I realized what it was, I was like, these banks is slick. I love it though.
So they're covered.
They're covered by you're paying for their coverage pretty much, and I love it because it makes it worth it, makes the FHA product allowed to exist in a sense because it reduces the risk on the funder, like the whoever's funding that mortgage. And then VA, same process except it's only for people who have served.
Yeah.
And what else did I say? PHFA is another one that is has a little bit more particular terminology, a little bit more how do I say this? It's just a different lane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different from FHA. It's just a different lane, and that one is good because you'll have a lot more state-specific products.
Okay.
Like they just dropped a new one called Forgivable in 10, and that one is I'm trying not to get too technical, but anyways, you get a second loan for up to 5% of whatever the loan amount is, and it is forgivable 10% every year for 10 years, so long as you maintain that property as your primary residence. All that means is it's another way to get money to help you with your down payment, your closing costs, and then as long as you stay in the house, you don't got to pay it back.
Gotcha.
It'll be forgiven in 10 years. But NACA beats them all.
NACA.
Tell
us about this. Tell us about NACA.
So NACA is before, let me talk about the bad stuff before we get to the good stuff. Because NACA got some issues and there's some reasons why people shouldn't use NACA. And I'll do about maybe 20, 30 deals with sending clients to the NACA program. I love them, I really do. But I want to let people know the bad side of them first. Bad side is that it is a lengthy process. And, as good as I am as a realtor, as experienced as I am with that program, it's still a lot of reliance on the mortgage counselor, the underwriters, all these things which no matter how ready you are, you might be months out from getting pre-approved. That means if you got a 700 credit score, $2 million in the bank, and you worked 7 jobs for the past 10 years with 50 million years of tax returns and no debt, it still might take you months to be qualified for that program.
Wow.
Which sucks because if you was to go to traditional route, you'd be qualified in like a couple hours.
Yeah.
So that's something that they're working on. Number 2 is that there's so much demand for this product and not enough people to facilitate what the demand is, or the lack of the adequate systems and processes to kind of handle the demand, that there's so many bottlenecks. And as you're going through this program, even after you qualify, even after you're under contract, it's always a drag. It's always a drag. It's always a drag. So I say that to say that unless you have patience and you're organized and you're patient and you're organized, just don't even waste your time. It's not going to manifest quickly. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's the bad part about NACA. It's a lengthy process, and things that should happen quickly are going to take longer. You're going to email them paperwork, and they're going to say we didn't get it. You're going to resend it again. They're going to say thanks, and then when they go to qualify, they're going to say, you know what, we never got this paperwork. And you're like, yo, I will, man, stop playing with me. So that. Those are the negative sides, right? It just is what it is. They're working on it. On the flip side, though, man, let me run through this list off memory. No down payment, no closing costs, no PMI. They cover your title insurance. They cover your transfer taxes. They cover your appraisal. You don't have to have perfect credit. They're very lenient on DTI, the rolling renovations, and you can get your interest rate as low as 0.62, 0.25.
0.25 interest.
0.25. It's a conventional product.
And put that into context, 'cause right now interest rates in general are relatively low.
Yes.
And low, we're talking like mid threes, right? Or
Yes.
and so to say like 0.25 interest rate, that is, it doesn't even sound
Don't even
real.
Don't even
you know?
sound right. No.
Yeah.
So this is when I went through NACA in 2015. I settled in 2016.
The first time I heard about NACA, I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, don't hit me with that BS. I'm a real estate professional. Ain't no way something this sweet is being kept a secret. Because I feel like, you know, at that time I've been in real estate for about maybe 2 years. I was like, ain't no way something this sweet would have just been kept quiet. Why would every realtor not be blasted this phenomenal product? Because all their buyers would benefit tremendously from it, right? And the you know, like every industry has a credo. The credo for real estate agents or realtors is, you know, for duty of the consumers. So we're always supposed to be, our fiduciary duties to the clients. I'm like, that would be violating our fiduciary duties. How are we not looking out for our buyers? It don't make no sense. So I went through NACA first, just to make sure it was real. If I'm gonna take an L, let it be me and not a client. And they're gonna roast me on Facebook, Instagram. So I was like, all right, let me go through this first, see if it's real. And I went through it. At first, it was like, oh, we need to see your voter's registration. I was like, what the fuck? You don't need that. Man, I've sold houses. I got people mortgages. You don't need my voter's registration. Stop playing with me. And then it's like, you know, we were going through other stuff. Not, oh, we need to see a monthly budget. I was like, monthly budget? Yo, this money in the bank right now. Like, you know what I mean? What you want, a screenshot of it? I sent you the bank statement. See, you don't need a budget. Be good. And then it's like, oh, you know, you seem to not want to cooperate with the standards of the program. You know, come back when you're ready. I was like, yo, I'm a realtor. I mean, you know, I know what it means to get a mortgage. Like, you're not gonna play me. And I took a step back, and then I was like, oh man, if this is real, I can't let my ego mess with what I can produce for my clients. So I came back with my head down, and Beverly asked for, I gave it to him. I got qualified, and NACA lets you buy, just like FHA and all these other products. First time home buyers, they let you buy up to a 4 unit.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna test as much of this program as I can. So the biggest I could buy was a 4 unit. I was like, cool, we're gonna buy a 4 unit.
And for everything up to 4 units, that's considered residential.
Everything,
right?
yep, yeah. That's what a lot of people don't know. Like, the loan that you would use to buy a single family house, a row house, or whatever, or a condo, is the exact same product you would use to buy a duplex, triplex, or a 4 unit, right? It's just this is slightly different requirements where you will need to have more money in the account to cover what they call reserves. But it's like, you know, you can get, there's so many ways around it. So NACA was like, yo, the most you could buy is a 4 unit. I said, okay, cool. We're gonna give that a shot. And you could also roll into renovations. So I was like, all right, let's do that as well. So I took NACA for a test run. I maxed them out on as many things as I possibly can. I got as many units as I could in the building. I did 120,000 in renovations.
Wow.
They funded every single dollar of it, and you know, they said you could buy down the interest rate. Bought down my interest rate. 0.65 is what I got my interest rate for.
What does it mean to buy down interest rate?
So that's not even a special. That's not even special about NACA. So because you could buy down your interest rate on anyone. All it means is that you're prepaying on the interest. You're prepaying money up front because you're prepaying money up front to the lender so that they're making their profit up front versus stretching it out over 15 years, 30 years, or whatever the case may be. So that's what that means. So NACA allows you to buy it down, but the fact that you don't need a down payment or a closing cost is like propane to the fire, because now you have an absorbent amount of cash, theoretically, that you can use to buy down the interest rate, along with leveraging any type of money you're getting from the seller in the form of an assist or seller concessions.
Yeah.
So seller concessions or seller's assist would be a situation where let's say the seller's selling their house for $400,000, and you ask for 2% assist. 2% assist would be 2% of 400,000. So the seller would be giving you $8,000 to help cover the cost of whatever you have. When you're going through NACA, you have very little cost. So the highest and best use for that $8,000 would be to use it to buy on your interest rate. So that's when that little combination for NACA makes it so phenomenal, because now let's say your monthly payment normally wouldn't work at $400,000.
Yeah.
But now you're able to buy on an interest rate, so now it does work, right? So if you couldn't afford something at, like, let's say 3%, you buy it now it's totally affordable at 2%.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what a lot of my clients are able to do, because now we're able to take them from an okay neighborhood to like, yo, this neighborhood is lit, and they still paying okay neighborhood monthly payments, but they in a lit neighborhood now, or in a better school district, or closer to work, or more space for their aging parents. So many different things my clients have been able to do. Yeah, I feel like I'm ranting. I get excited about that.
I just want to say that, for everyone tuned in again, thank you for being here. If you have any questions while we're talking, feel free to ask them so that we can, present them to Ugo.
Absolutely.
But Ugo's talking about NACA and the benefits of the NACA program, how you can purchase a home that maybe more, you can qualify for more expensive home than you otherwise would be able to, and pay less, for your payments than you also otherwise would be able to.
Yes.
So, well, I've been asking my questions. Toby, if you want to interject.
Just a couple steps back. Real estate's kind of like a buzzword right now. Especially the Philly market is very high.
Good or bad? Good or bad? Pros and cons of that. Mixed feelings.
So, went through a lot, but I'm just gonna take a couple steps back to the rooms for sale.
The room houses.
Yeah. So how does that compare to how people are using like Airbnbs now? How does that change the market? Is it comparable to one versus the other, or
I think
for people?
I think Airbnb is more of a transient thing where people are coming and going. I think the rooming is more of a long-term stay. So you might have someone come. That's kind of changed a little bit now, but you traditionally would have someone who would rent the room for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. That's kind of like, that becomes their living space. Or maybe I've had a lot of people where like that's just like their secondary. That's just their secondary escape. So sometimes I'll have a student who, like, when they need to really study and they need to be away from parents and their friends, they have a room and they just $100 a week, they just rock and roll it. Airbnb is more, I would say, travel related. It's more home away from home kind of situation where I think the rooming houses are physically living in these houses. They got the hot stove and the mini fridge, and they really live in these houses. They come home and they go to their room. Yeah. Good question. That's an interesting question.
And just, I guess, expanding on Toby, what Toby is saying, and what the rooming houses and I guess it's kind of really in the black. Something I've been curious about is when it comes to, let's say, your Airbnbs, because it's starting to be more regulations and whatnot with that. What about things like I've been hearing more about co-living, which feels very similar to rooming houses, but you're seeing these companies pop up that are, it seems like they're basically doing rooming houses, but it's maybe branded differently. So like, let's say somebody wanted to go start like a co-living company or start something involving co-living. Like how would you go about that, or is that something that is still in the gray?
So I wish I had to call a lifeline on that. My girl Anna is the one that she's from New York. She actually introduced me to co-living. So she bought a property I helped her purchase a property, and the vision that she painted to me was the co-living space. And it was similar to Airbnb, where she furnished everything, took care of everything, made it real nice, real beautiful, and then she allowed people to come and occupy that space with her. So from I don't do co-space living, not like that. But it do sound like a slick rooming house. It sounds like a very
sounds just like
it sounds like a very nicely rebranded rooming house.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say that's a little bit different is the people that I know that are co-living are physically in the space with the rooming house. You know what I mean? Like, so they're actually living in there and they're co-mingling with everyone that's actually living in there, which is very different from a rooming house because you're not there at all. You know what I mean? So, ain't no different from like room share. You know what I mean? Or when you get a roommate. You know, it's that type of thing. I think it's just on a bigger scale. How are these third party companies doing it at a profit? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they probably would just be still in the model from like a co-work space, like a WeWork type model, and just kind of taking that to a residential play. Got it. That's my best thought. But yeah, I've personally never established one or had any of my clients outside of her kind of do it. So I don't have too much detail on that. Yeah. Got it.
So just jump back to the whole NACA process and being in a multifamily unit.
Yes.
What did it look like? So after you went through the process, what did your situation look like after having gotten to the end of it versus before you even started NACA? Like how did that change things?
Yeah. So the cash flow was just totally different. So it was a 4-unit, and we renovated it, and I do everything through Section 8 or Philadelphia Housing Authority, simply because prior to buying that property, I had negative experiences with tenants, and really only one negative experience actually. It was this lady who I was managing this property for this family, and they had a really nice apartment in Center City with a 1-bedroom. And the lady that rented the place or applied for that, she was doing her nursing thing or getting her. She already had her nursing degree. She was getting something else on top of that, aka more money. Her credit was phenomenal. Had a bunch of money in the bank, and everything was great. Yeah. Fantastic person. The interview was great. The walkthrough was great. Everything was lit. We put her on this property, and in like a month or two, we were getting police reports. Oh wow. We were getting noise violations from the neighbors. The condo association was contacting us and writing letters. And I'm like, yo, did we miss something? The screening was phenomenal. Everything looked good. It got so bad, we eventually said, yo, you gotta leave. Wow. You gotta, 700 plus credit score, 6 figures, and almost 30,000 in the bank. Like, yo, you gotta leave. Perfect person on paper. Yeah. But she trashed the place, and we had granite countertops. She cracked the countertops. Wow. I'm like, what are you doing in here? The place was trash. It was weird. But that taught me. It was like, yo, all right, well, everyone's like, oh, well, you want to get a good tenant, buy a house in a good neighborhood, and get the good tenant. And I had first-hand experience. Like, this is a perfect person on paper. Yeah. Trash my place, trash the place. So that taught me, like, no matter what I do, someone can, if they really wanted to, screw your place up. So only thing that I can control, or I felt that I can control, is like, if this is gonna happen, no matter if they're good, if they look great on paper or not on paper, at least let me get my rent. Right. And that's where Section 8 comes through. Yeah. So now, if you mess the property up, I would rather them not to, but I know that at least the rent is gonna be there. As long as that cash flow is there, will survive and rise up like the Phoenix. So
Section 8, they'll pay you. They'll pay a portion of the tenant's rent every month, and the Section 8 pay regardless of what's going on. Regardless. Were they paying during the pandemic?
All through the pandemic, yeah. All through the pandemic.
That sounds nice.
I don't know if PHA is listening, but I appreciate you. let me know when you get off. I got you. I owe you a couple things. You know what I mean? So, but not even. And the first time I had a fear of like, oh, what if it doesn't come through, was when they had like the government shutdown. Yeah. Maybe, was that 2018, 19? Yeah. It still came through. You know what I mean? They were arguing to pass that bill. It still came through, and then COVID happened. I'm like, dang, this might actually be the catastrophe or pandemic that breaks the camel's back. And it never happened. It never happened. So shout out to PHA. I really appreciate that. But anyways, I get the 4-unit, and I lease it out all PHA. Not a single normal human being in that building. Not a single soul that has to work to pay my rent. Everything is funded by PHA. I got a lady in there that pays $40. I think the rent is $9.50.
Wow.
I be forgetting she has rent to pay. I think she moved in there and just gave me the check for the year or something like that.
Yeah.
I got another property where I think the rent is like $1,100. My guy pays me like $20 a month.
Wow.
I'm just like, we'll talk in December. But like, just let it roll. I mean, but it's just been a fantastic experience for me with PHA. And that first property with NACA was so pivotal because cash flow was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think my mortgage on that was like $1,150 or like $1,250.
Yeah.
I got 3 units at $900 a pop.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was looking at that like, dang,
It's different.
this is different. this is different. This is a little wild. Like, does everybody know about this, or did I just stumble upon something dope? And then I took it even further. I had the basements were so big I could put 2 units in the basement. So I was like, we in the basement. So rented all 4 of them out. We got 4 times 9 minus the $1,250. Oh, it was gravy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So the money I put out to pick the property up, right? I got that back in like 4 months, 5 months, something like that. And 100% no money in the deal. It's cash flowing still. My returns were infinite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the money was guaranteed by PHA. It really made me sit back and think like, yo, what if we scaled this?
Yeah.
And then that's when we took off.
And I think it's very powerful, just that process, because, you know, a lot of people, especially, let's say you want to get into investing in real estate, or if you know, and you don't necessarily have a lot of capital to start with, there's a big difference when you know you're paying $1,000, you know, or $800 or $1,200, whatever the case is for rent, and then you shift to, you know, bringing in income that's the same amount as you were paying, because the differential ends up being, you know, $2,000, $3,000, whatever the case is, and you can really make leaps and bounds by that one, you know, shift in your situation. So I think just for a lot of people who are thinking about getting into real estate investing, you know, to think about, okay, like how can I
lower expenses?
Right, like how can I lower expenses and increase the income?
Yeah, I think one of the things that worked out really well for me, man, I got in with this whole investment mindset of studying money, where I avoided a lot of mistakes that I think most people made. I didn't have a car note. My student loans weren't ridiculous. You know, as quickly as I possibly could, I slid into a 4-unit, which is not typical. And that just really, even before the 4-unit, I mean, I was, you know, with my mentor, I was wholesaling sheriff sales. Okay. You know what I mean? And I think that Can you talk a little about sheriff sales for people on? What exactly sheriff sales? Shout out to Philadelphia Sheriff Sale. They finally did their first wave of online auctions for mortgage foreclosures and the tax ones. So big ups to them on that milestone. I'm excited to see how things play out. I didn't win anything, but you know. But what are the prices like at the sheriff sales? Because the sheriff sales, those are typically properties that are being foreclosed on, or you're not paying taxes. It's two so those are the two. You got the mortgage foreclosure ones, and then you got the tax delinquent sales. Okay. Mortgage foreclosure ones, you know what I mean, they have their minimum reserve, and you know you gotta hit that, and you know you're good to go. The tax ones is just like, listen, they ain't paying any taxes. Yeah. And we're sick of it. We gave them notice, we gave them payment plans, we gave them everything, they still ain't paid. Have them. Who wants to buy this? Bring it current. Let's roll. You know what I mean? And you can bid on those properties and pick them up for pennies on the dollar. Yeah. I remember when I first got started. You know, they would always start the bid at $1,500. Property comes up. I'm like $1,500. They was like, oh, we have starting bid at $1,500. We have $1,500. I said 15. Like, anyone to go 16? I bid on myself. I was like 16. Because I was like, oh, nobody said anything. They was like, okay, 16. We have 17. Yeah. 18. Sold for 16. I was like, yeah, I could have got it for $1,500. But those days are gone, dude. Yeah, the demand and the hunger for distressed properties right now is through the roof. We're not, you can't even get land, I think, for $1,500 right now. I mean, what I love about, and this is when you guys are saying like, oh, real estate is a buzzword right now. And that's a good thing because I love the exposure. I love people getting in there and being able to, bust a move. Bad thing because some of these people don't know what they're doing and they be overpaying for properties.
Yeah.
And they be the ones that I want to buy. Like, you should let me buy it at my price because I know what I'm doing versus at your price. But that's cool. I'm gonna buy it on the second round anyway. But I love it because it's empowering. Only thing I will say about tax delinquent sales is I don't do them anymore.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it's really tough to get title insurance on it. So when you can't get title insurance, that means your money just kind of sits in that property. You're unable to refinance. So from a new person trying to get started in real estate, I would probably say stay away from the tax sales.
Gotcha.
There's a couple of ways around that. There's a couple of people that teach different things, but for me personally, I think there is more than enough deals outside of the sheriff sale that wouldn't require you to go that way. I think the Burr method right now is a fantastic play, which is when you buy something ugly, you renovate it, you rent it out, you refinance, and then you repeat the process. I think that method is what I teach all my clients.
And Burr is like buy, rent.
Yep, buy, renovate, rent it out, refinance, repeat.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And you were just mentioning that you were wholesaling sheriff sales?
Correct. Yeah.
So what's that? So you were buying you were getting a property under contract and then putting it, and then but a property that was being bid on at a sheriff sale?
Yeah. So I'll be at the sheriff sale, right? I might win let's say I go down there, I win 3 properties.
Yeah.
Right. I'll put my 10% down.
Yeah.
I got 30 days to bring the full balance up.
Yeah.
So what I would do is in those 29 days, right, is I would market the hell out of it with a little bit of a markup.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to make a little change. So last time I wholesaled a sheriff sale property, I think the winning bid was like 16, and I ended up letting it go for like maybe 27.
Oh wow.
Right. So all I would do is there's a piece of you have the assignment, you would fill it out, get it notarized, and then run it back to. I'm forgetting where you run it back to, but you can go to one office first, get it notarized that you're signing it, and then go to another office to record and pay off the actual balance of what's going on and collect your fee as a difference.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I would never take ownership of it. I just won the bid, and then I had someone else step in my shoes to facilitate the closing transaction.
So what I'm hearing from you right now, because I'm hearing wholesaling, wholesaling sheriff sales. I've heard the Burr method. Buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat.
You figure it out,
We've talked about NACA loan and how you can get these very low interest, rate, properties at low interest rates, and so what we understand is like there are so many different ways that you can be in the real estate industry. There's so many different ways to make money from the real estate industry. Something that you touched upon though is that 2021 versus let's say 2015 or 2013, things like the landscape looks a little different. So even if you go to a sheriff sale, it's harder to find those say properties for $1,500 or $3,000 and being bid on for a lot higher. So if you're someone who's going into real estate right now as an investor, what is your recommendation for that person to whether as an entry point or even just for kind of finding their lane, knowing that it is maybe more competitive or more capital intensive now versus before?
That's a great question, and I'm going to answer it in as many ways as I possibly can, so that different people can take from it what they can. Getting into real estate isn't just about being a real estate agent. I think everybody knows that one, so you could do that. But it's also about getting into title insurance. It's also about getting into property preservation, where you're managing properties, cutting the grass, changing locks for banks when they have foreclosed properties. It's also about being a home inspector. It's also about any one of these trades. Plumbing, electrical, whatever, anything. You know what I mean? So there's so many different ways to get into it. So those are some of the ways that you can, actually build a skill set and provide that as a service within the real estate space. I think that should not be underlooked. because a lot of the money that I made came from the fact that I had a license. Before the portfolio grew to what it was now, I mean, my money was coming from being a real estate agent, and that's what I was able to take, reinvest until where that's not the case anymore. But how would I get into it now if I was wholesaling? Wholesaling hasn't necessarily changed too much. I just think you got to do a lot more. Digging because it's everybody's mailing this person, everybody's texting this person, right? You got to be able to stand out in a very crowded market. I mean, why should that person sell to you versus all these other 17 people that text her the same day that you text her? So you got to start to build. You can't just be a random person. You got to really have a brand behind you, right? You got to really have a brand. You got to really have systems. You got to. It's not just about picking up the phone and calling somebody relentlessly. No, you pick up the phone, you text them, you get their email address. You make sure you're targeting them on Facebook. You mail them. You kind of do this dance repeatedly, consistently, where maybe they don't rock with you in month 1, month 2, month 3. But month 9, you're still the only person still marketing to them. When the time does shift that they got to get to you, they'll get to you. So I would do that. That's how I would angle it from the wholesaling side. If you're looking to do flips, which I think is fantastic, the market right now is clearly a seller's market. So there's a lot of profit margins on that, even though the numbers have increased significantly on the acquisitions. I just picked up a flip, and I don't really do flips. This is a hard thing to say. But I just picked up a flip maybe 3 days ago, and those numbers are going to be ridiculous. But if you're coming in on a flip and you don't have a lot of money, don't do it alone. Just don't go at it alone. A lot of my coaching clients, I will pair them up. Oh, you only got 10 grand and you only got 15. Together y'all got 25. And I might step in and say, well, here go another 10. Now us as a trio, we got 35. That's enough. That's enough to get it on a deal, leveraging hard money. Rinse and repeat. Do that a couple of times, y'all all gain experience, and then y'all all eventually will have enough to walk away and do the deals yourself. That thought process wasn't necessarily there when I first got started, because not our real estate wasn't a buzzword. Right. So when I would talk to people like, yo, I got 10 grand. Do you know any other people that want to get into it? They're like, nah, my grandfather lost his shirt on that. It was so different back then. You know what I mean? Now it's dope because you don't really have to do a lot of persuading to get people into real estate. People get it, and they be willing to get into it. So that is how I would do it from the flip game. On the landlord side of things, couple of ways to do it. You can do subject twos. I'm not trying to make this complicated, but you can do subject two where you take ownership of the property subject to what's already existing, meaning that whatever loan they got in place, lien judgments, whatever the case may be. You could even do a flip via a subject too. We're not going to get too complicated, but these are all certain ways where your manipulation of the paperwork is how you're controlling the deal, and not necessarily you take ownership of the deal, right?
And subject two is that when you pay off.
Don't pay off nothing.
You don't pay off.
You take it as is. I accept you for who you are as you are.
I see.
You know what I mean?
So that means in some cases it'd be like with the mortgage
with the mortgage,
or whatever is on the liens, whatever is on.
Bad tenant, everything. And you really got a problem solve. But in doing so, you can create a solution. Like I have one of my friends right now where he picked up a property and he's taking control of it through subject to. Right? He's doing the whole renovation. And then when he sells it, he's going to break bread with the owner. Right? So that's a different way to do it, where he never came out of pocket a penny for the property. But he's going to reap the benefits as if he, from flipping it as if he normally would have taken control over it. And that's a win-win because the seller gets completely wiped away from everything. And my friend is able to walk away with flip profit numbers without actually picking up the flip. So, what else? Also, as we just talked about, FHA, NACA, these are all ways where you can, owner occupied, leverage your first time home buyer position to pick up duplex, triplex, quad. Typically, I'm not a fan of duplexes. Duplexes are great for reducing your cost on the mortgage, but because of the fact that you only have one unit rented, unless you're able to get a roommate and you're in the unit that you're occupying, they tend not to break even for you. They tend to just kind of decrease your mortgage amount. Triplex quad,
Yeah.
lit. Triplex, you got 2 new units rented. The goal is for that to cover your mortgage and your operating expenses. 4-unit gang is typically where you start cash flowing. Everything is covered, and you might get an extra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Extra spread on that one. What else? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stop right there. I think I'm
Yeah. I mean
dumping too much.
I mean that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
A lot of you know, a lot of words, phrases.
I know.
Might need to do some-
I
might need to do
start
some-
ranting.
might need to do some Googling about somebody's talking about subject to. But even you touch upon so many different lanes in the industry. From being whether it's a home inspector,
Mobile notary,
title,
it's
appraisal.
so much money.
There's
in
so
this
many
game.
spaces.
It's so much, and each one of these lanes I mentioned could easily be 6 figures. And I didn't believe it until I got into the industry. I never thought you could be a 6-figure realtor.
Yeah.
Like I never thought it was realtors out here making more money than doctors. You know what I mean? And then I got into it, and then I was like, oh, this is what we can do here.
Yeah.
Let's run it up.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. You know what I mean?
Just to acknowledge some of the people on the chat. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I see some people celebrating Ugo over here. Ugo is the best.
Oh man, stop it. Oh.
Shout out to Jay Sebastian Galindo Rodriguez.
Oh man.
That is an amazing name. Danielle Mitchell, realtor.
That's
Hey
my girl.
Ugo.
Yeah, my attorneys keep trying to buy her out. She's trying to stay.
Tiffany said group economics.
Let's go. Group economics is lit. I'm in a couple of things right now as a group.
Yeah. We got a question right here from Temi. Do you have any government resources available in regards to getting funding for people looking to invest in recovery houses with limited funding?
Oh yeah, no doubt. So start a nonprofit and write your request, your proposal for funding. Yeah. So that's another side. Man, I'm about to dump. So another thing that me and my guys are thinking about, or not even thinking about, we're in the middle of doing is, and this is a way to kind of give back but still make a lot of dumb money, is when you, like for example, we're starting a nonprofit to go after homelessness.
Yeah.
And then what we're going to do is donate our assets to that nonprofit. And the funding for that nonprofit will be what will cover the fact that we're donating those things.
Wow.
So there's a lot of ways in real estate as you dig down to be profitable.
And you say this is a nonprofit you're starting?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the things
homelessness in Philly
is really weird.
Real.
So one of the things, and this came across as a joke. Me and my friend, shout out to Justin, man. It would just be like, yo, it's cold as hell out here.
Yeah.
And we would just stop and think like, dang, yo, what? I can't imagine if he was homeless. It'd be time. I remember. I hate the quote. I'm born in Nigeria. My ancestors wasn't even. I was oh man. But I just couldn't imagine. I mean, I hated just running out the house into the car, waiting for the car to run. Well, we got the push to start. He started in the house, but I just hated running out the house. The 2 seconds it took me to get from house to car is just like no. So I just can't imagine what that was like permanently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ongoing. You slept in it. You woke up in it. I mean, so the goal is to kind of figure out a way to properly house that, but then also have like a mental health aspect of it. Because a lot of these things is more of a disease of the mental. Because so figuring out what happened to get that person in there, helping correct that mindset, and then seeing if we can get them back to stand on their own, sustain that is something that we're trying to put together. It is totally new territory for me. The mental health aspect of it. No idea what the hell I'm doing, but we're bringing in professionals that'll help out with that regards. But everything else is the real estate is within my wheelhouse. So that's the vision that we're
that's
together.
dope. That's dope. What's the nonprofit called?
We don't have a name.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be something like House in Philly or something like that.
And I think that's one of the cool things about real estate too, that it intersects with so many different spaces. Regardless of what you do, there's usually some sort of real estate component, involved. So even like what you're talking about, there's that, like you're housing people, but then there's the mental health, intersects with the mental health part of it.
Yeah, I remember is one of my mentors. He was like, you don't go broke because of real estate. You go broke because you felt to capitalize on whatever asset that you had. You know what I mean? A lot of people who, my uncle lost his shirt in real estate. Somebody still bought that one day.
Yeah.
Right? It's not sitting there still vacant. You know what I mean? Somebody picked that joint up and now they ran with it. So it wasn't the asset that your uncle left.
Yeah.
It was your uncle. And whatever they knew or did not know, or whatever they did not know or knew and felt to act upon that really hurt them. So
Knowledge is power.
knowledge is power, man. Applied knowledge too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
applied knowledge.
and I can't. I'm guilty as charged too.
Oh
Man.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. This year we about to do like maybe 12, maybe 15 properties.
Yeah.
And it's not like we couldn't have done that last year or 2
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
It was just this year. I'm just like, what's stopping me? And now we run it. You know, we run it. So I can't even hide and act like I haven't been my own worst enemy. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's growth.
Tell what you got.
Yeah, so just before.
So be quiet, man. What's up?
So just for the viewers, like we're saying before, real estate is a buzzword. There's a lot of, traditional, I'm saying the black community, the African community. Investment is not really a thing. We don't really have people, we can go to within our family.
Yes.
To talk about it, to, pros and cons. And, the reception of it is more like, why would you do that for? There's doctors, engineers, pharmacists, all things. But what kind of words of encouragement or insight can you give those who are still on the sideline to go into it and not truly believe any kind of investment is just losing your money?
Oh man, I wouldn't even be. I think I'm living proof. I wouldn't even be invited to this podcast if I was still on the sidelines. You know what I mean? Like I would the whole persona of Philly Real Estate King, Ugo The Agent, like everything that I'm attached to, the whole brand that kind of I didn't even create the brand. The brand kind of just grew organically, just out the blue. If I would have stood on the sidelines, none of this would have been possible. I think real estate is, don't get me wrong, these traditional things are fantastic. I'm not trying to play any lawyer, accountant, engineer, or whatever thing like that. But all I can say is I'm right there with you on that income. You know what I mean? We not missing out. We not missing the beat. You know what I mean? And anyone that's looking to get into real estate or anything, it doesn't even have to be real estate. Just study your craft. And what I love about what's going on right now is there are so many people that have done what you're trying to do and have left a whole entire book about it. Whole book, here's what I did. Whole documentary, here's what I did. Or a coaching program or whatever, you know what I mean? And all you gotta do is just give it a shot. So I spent an ungodly amount of money on coaching. I just dropped $6,000 on a real estate coach and I'm already a real estate dude. You know what I mean? So it's so awesome in this day and age where people are packaging everything they know into these products. Of course, you got some trash ones, you got some scammers. I mean, I ain't gonna act like it's a perfect fill, but I would say that if you're looking to do something, really commit to it. Really commit to it and understand that the success is going to come from you, not giving up, from you falling and getting back up, from you understanding that this is going to happen overnight. You know what I mean? I didn't buy it for you and it just became rich. We had several transactions afterwards. Now we ball. You know what I mean? And the fact that I'm here and I did it, I ain't nobody special. You absolutely can do it, regardless of what your people think. Because my dad just told me when I told him about real estate. He my biggest cheerleader right now. My biggest cheerleader right now. My guy will call me like, yo, you need anything? You need anything? You know what I mean? He used to drive for Uber, you know what I mean? And he's like, hey, let me get some business cards. Hey, after rock, hey, I just gave you business cards to his pension. Give him a call, see if you biggest cheerleader right now. You know what I mean? Same guy that sold me was disappointed that I went that route versus the medical field. So I would just end in saying that a lot of people that are looking that are saying, oh, don't do this, don't do that, are doing it from a perspective where they don't have any experience to guide you on it. So they want to grab into what they know, what's safe for them, what they can protect you in, and when they don't have that
experience, or they can rely on someone to protect you. They just say, just don't do it.
Yes. And then just on top of that, what do you think is some of your biggest losses today?
Ooh, let's roll.
And from that, how did it improve you and get you where you are now?
Ooh, oh man, biggest losses. So right off the rip from when I got started early in real estate, you can't paint everybody with the same paint. So when I first got started early in real estate, I would just listen.
That's the word, right? You can't paint everybody with the same paintbrush.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So when I first got started, I would tell everybody, oh, that's a bad deal. You shouldn't buy that. Da, da, da. That was me looking at it through my eyes and me putting everybody through the same lens. You don't know what they got going on. So I took a lot of L's, lost a lot of clients early on because I would just tell people, like, don't. That's their dream home. Like, I don't buy that. Look at the taxes. What's you doing? I'm not living there. So I had to realize that, you know what I mean, it's really important to let people live their dreams, and your job is to facilitate that. Your job is not to poo-poo it. Your job is not to judge it. Your job is to say, yo, how can I help you achieve what you're trying to achieve? It's customer service 101. Another thing I learned is, real estate doesn't care about you. Like, it doesn't care about you. Contractors don't care about you. The title company don't care about you. Insurance agents don't care about you. City of Philadelphia don't care about you. Like, none of these people care about you. So anytime you don't do your due diligence, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's always going to be on you. When people say, "Oh, I got burned by a contractor," how did that happen? They just ran up on you and it done into the money, or you let it flow. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it's checks and balances that people miss. And I'm not saying this to say, like, to sound high and mighty. I'm just saying this because I know that I've been burned by contractors $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 because of things that, and then I would take a course and be like, oh snap, I ain't do that. I ain't do that. That's me. That's on me. I ain't do that.
Yeah.
Or when you have a bad product come out, and then I'll take a course about how to manage contracts. Oh, I didn't explain that well, or I didn't document what I wanted, or I didn't show an example of what I wanted, or I didn't lay it out the way it made sense and check for understanding the way they wanted. So that was a big loss. What's another one? Oh, not shopping around. I remember one time I was in a pinch, and I just refinanced with the first company that would refinance me. Prepayment penalty for 10 years. Should not have done that. What else? It's too many. I can just sit and rant. But I think the biggest takeaway is just your due diligence is important. A lot of the mistakes you can control yourself if you get educated first before you take action. Documentation and systems and processes are super because your goal is to replicate everything. You're not trying to win any type of award. Maybe you are, I don't know, but when you have systems and processes, it makes it easier for people to work for you and with you. And that way you make sure you're not missing anything, especially in the construction game. Man, that is, all my kitchens look exactly alike. So when something goes wrong, I'm just like, it's not me. It ain't me. My kitchens look exactly alike. Why? You know what I mean? It's your fault. So that comes with systems and processes.
There's I saw really good info, by the way. I saw really good info. And I hear you talking a lot about, like, investing back in yourself.
Yes.
And just investing in yourself in general, but, paying for these courses, probably, like, reading, books and whatever the case may be. I think one of the biggest challenges for people, especially in real estate, and especially if you don't have a background in real estate, like you're new to it, is you don't know what you don't know.
Facts.
And so, what are some resources that you recommend or that have been impactful for you, whether it's courses you've taken or books you've read or videos you've watched? Like, what are some of the good resources that have been very helpful to you, or that would be helpful to new investors or people even just in the real estate industry?
Oh man, I love it. So I gotta drop a bunch of books that I think are really good. I have to open up the Audible library.
The audio books.
The real estate rehab book is awesome by Paul. Real Estate Rehab Bible by Mr. Paul is a fantastic book. That book really helped me with systematizing a lot of my interactions with contractors have been shaped by that book. Traction by Mr. Gino Wickman is a fantastic book that really goes over into more of the systems and processes. The Power of Habit is fantastic. I really enjoyed that book. Bigger Pockets is a website that I think everybody should be on, especially if you're trying to do real estate. They had a guide to getting started in real estate, which I think is probably one of the best guides out there, as far as like going over everything from wholesaling, the Burr method, just everything. I think that's a fantastic resource. And then in that same lane, I mean, just podcasts in general. Like you got podcasts like this one. There's so many different podcasts out there that are fantastic. Earn Your Leisure is lit. You know what I mean?
Shout out to Earn Your Leisure.
Shout out to them. MD the Mortgage Guy is my guy right there. I'm not a Grant Cardone fan. I'm gonna skip right over that.
Nah?
I'm also not a Dave Ramsey's fan. I'm gonna skip right over that.
It's interesting because, you know, I feel like there's so many different personalities out there and philosophies too. So it's like, you just mentioned Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey. I almost feel like they're polar opposites, you know? And it's interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
No. And it's not that I'm not a Grant Cardone fan. I just don't think everyone can run like Grant Cardone. So I think the persona that he puts out is slightly offsetting to someone who's not going to be able to run at that speed. And I don't want people to be scared away because they're not 10xing it. I mean, 2x is still a celebration, 5x is still a celebration. You know what I mean? 10x, but if you read his book, 10x is just a way to set the system and processes so it drags you through whatever goal that you set. He's not saying that, but I think his personality kind of rubs people a little rough. And then Dave Ramsey's, man, I just think that his philosophy is antiquated. I think that his way of I just can't get with it. I just can't get with it. You know what I mean? And I'm a big proponent to debt. I have an infatuation with good debt, which is cash producing debt. All of our deals that we do, we're no more than maybe 70% leverage. We got 30% equity. And we're cash flowing, and we typically want that cash flow to be, let's say the mortgage is $1,000. We typically want to make sure we're bringing in $2,500 minimum. So I think if you look at Dave and the way he's teaching stuff, you either have to have very high income, or you're just going to be on the sidelines for a long time, and someone like me that runs circles around you, and then still beat you when it comes to income, because I would have amassed a fortune while you were working on paying off your house.
I think you bring up a good point, because when you get into a space like real estate and you're active in it, and some other spaces too, there's a financial literacy component that you just start picking up on too, and when you start learning about leveraging credit and some of the different loans that are available, private money and hard money, and how like a lot of it comes down to what you know and how you're able to leverage it. You start realizing the kind of moves you can make that you just wouldn't know if you didn't come across that information. So those are all good points. That's awesome, and I think very important points for especially the Black community where we talk about wealth gap and some the gains that need to be made. It's important that we understand how the playing field really works and how people are really like building out here.
So real quick, I just want to tell you how bad of a listing agent I am, or agent for sellers I am. I will talk you out of selling your house. Oh man, it's so bad. It's so bad. I will come through. I will listen to everything you have to say, and I'll be like, yeah, but do you really have to sell? There was this one family, and I ended up selling. I still cry about that. They had a 3-family. Three families of triplex, so 1, 2, 3. It was near it was right off of Market Street. I don't know if you're off of Market Street.
What market?
It was like maybe 52nd and Market, something like that. Somewhere around there. And I'm like, yo, I can help. If y'all renovate this, y'all can cash flow, y'all can relax. I'll manage it for you. Y'all can sell it, keep it in your family. Your kids don't want it.
And I'm like giving them angles for weeks.
Yeah.
And we could do this. Hey, yo, we can run it this way. Hey, I can manage the construction. And at the end of the day, it was like 3 weeks later, like, we just want to sell it. I was like, okay. I will give you what you want, right? Because I can't paint everyone with the same paintbrush.
Yeah.
In my mind, they should have kept it, but you know, they sold it and they were happy with it.
Yeah.
I was crying in settlement, but it just is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think not enough people truly understand. Me and my cousin talk about this all the time. Like, yo, we're behind, and to stand still doesn't really put you in a better position. You just keep getting lapped. So we can't just run at the same speed as other people. We gotta double it, triple it to catch up. Yeah. Right. So when I see plays like that go down, it's like, I really didn't want that to happen. But you know, some people don't see it, and that's okay. We don't know what their financial situation is.
Right. And you also gotta meet people where they're at.
You gotta meet people where they're at. You know what I mean? You can't bring them where they're at. You gotta meet them where they're at. So for that particular family, it was fantastic, and that happens a lot because I'll be on my wholesale tip. I'll be like, you know, some people are like, oh, you know, you give us 30, we'll take it. I'm like, bro, you black? They be like, yeah. I'm like, what's going on with this house? Like, tell me more about it. Like, what's what's up? Like, well, how come, you know, this is what I'm going to do with it if you sell it to me. You know, I can show you how to do it yourself. You don't have to sell it. And they're like, nah, we good, man. And it blows my mind all the time. This might happen like 7 times a month for me.
Wow.
But I'm not going to say no. Listen, sell me your grandma house. You know, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Poor grandma. You know what I mean? What's up? And you just wrong with it. But I think that if the conversation was different, if people understood what was possible, or actually took a step back and looked at the position that we were in, I think all behaviors would change. But that's not gonna happen. You know, I mean, that's just an imperfect world. I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. I mean, being my pessimistic self.
I mean, you know, I think about these things sometimes, and you know, you look at gentrification, you look at neighborhoods that are changing, and you know, some people will say, oh, you know, let's say like a neighborhood that's being gentrified, you know, and where people are selling grandma's home and whatnot. You might say, okay, you don't see value in it, or you don't see the value that's potentially in the space. But then there's also, you know, it's really more than that. It's like the lack of maybe awareness or just lack of knowledge of what can really be done. I feel like so much comes back to knowledge.
Yes.
And but that's, you know, just like, you know, why, you know, for us, like, you know, we care so much about is disseminating information so that, you know, people can be able to take the proper steps because gentrification is going to happen no matter what. You know, the market shifts are going to happen no matter what. So it's, you know, you're either going to be a part of it or you're not. And so, you know, it sounds like you had like some sort of rebuttal to that, but like
everyone's a part of gentrification. I don't think there's no one that's not a part of gentrification. I think it's people that benefit from it, and people that unfortunately
you're either gonna benefit or you're not. So word.
And the saddest part for me, because I get chewed out at these town hall meetings when I'm proposing projects. Who was there first? You know what I mean? That is the part where I think a lot of people forget. It's like it was your neighborhood. You've been there for a while. You could have pioneered everything that's going on there. You know what I mean? But it goes back to, again, disseminating that information. Getting that information out, being able to apply it, knowing what you can and cannot do with it. And unfortunately, a lot of our neighborhoods, it's just not, that information isn't there. So the people with that information come from the outside and bust and move internally.
Definitely. Now this been a lot of good info. You know, we've been going for a good amount of time. This is actually I believe our longest pepper soup talk thus far. So you know, we appreciate all the gems that you've been dropping, Ugo. So to start wrapping up, you know, one question that we like to ask is, you know, if you had to talk to your younger self, give advice to your younger self.
Who's the good one?
I say Ugo, you know, who was, whether it was maybe even before real estate, maybe you just get into real estate, but just, you know, if you had to talk to that person and knowing what you know now, how you advise that person with navigating, his life. Some words of wisdom for him.
Oh man, so this isn't even have anything to do with real estate. Absolutely nothing to do with real estate. This would be more about just like self-love, man. This would be more about like, you know what I mean, getting into therapy sooner. This would be more about like, you know what I mean, those uncomfortable conversations, having them a lot sooner with people while they're still here. And this would be more about like kind of just facing your demons, inside and out. The real estate's the easy part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think all that other stuff is difficult. It's tough. Those relationships, those conversations, those are tough things. And I think a lot of times, you miss the opportunity to have those conversations until something dramatic happens, and then it's too late because that person's not there, or they're no longer in this realm, and it's too late to have those conversations. So yeah, I would, or because you didn't heal yourself, you latched out on somebody else, and now you're passing that baton of pain and hurt and just not unhealed. So I would say that would be the conversation I would have with my younger self, because I just don't think that gets talked about, especially in the Black and African culture.
Yeah.
So that's the conversation I would have with my younger self. Not give him a hug and say, "Nigga, you about to be rich. Don't worry about money. We good, baby. Focus on everything else, man. The plan will work. You will work. I mean, you will one day be invited to pepper soup talk, to a spicy pepper soup, and it'll be amazing." So,
man, cheers to that. Toby, you wrap up with anything?
I want to come back and just have a conversation with you. I mean, this is,
Yeah, I guess just one last key thing. What do you think contributed to your success? What's one of the key aspects?
Key aspects, man. I had another interview today, and they was asking the same thing. I honestly don't know, man. I just think that I don't want. I think for me, when my parents got divorced, I just want to be able to have a nice family where we don't got to worry about time or money. And I think that's what drives me the most. And then when I started reading about finances and saw how integral real estate was, I just latched onto it really hard, and just doing everything I can to manifest that reality is what I think just what I'm really cool. And even when shit hits the fan, I just kind of want to go and figure it out. And I am not scared to admit when I'm wrong. I mean, if I mess up, I'm like, yo, who can teach you this? And I will part with my money to get that knowledge. You know what I mean? So yeah, and this is all for my wife and kids. I'm usually single as hell, and I don't got no kids, at least that I'm aware of. But
he said, "Ladies, slide into the DM."
wait, no. I'm not good right now.
We still in the pandemic.
Yeah, it's still in the pandemic internally. I'm still in the pandemic internally. We still in the construction on the inside. So yeah, we'll come back later. Unless you think you can fix me, what's up? Pepper soup is
Pepper soup talk is not condoning any toxic relationship.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. Not gonna do that. But yeah, I think honestly, I think for me, I just failing wasn't an option. You know what I mean? I think when I look back, it would be times where I'll be like, dang, like a year would go past in real estate, like, dang, I could have been 1 year in med school right now. And then another year would go by, I'd be like, dang, this is my 2nd year in med school. And in 3 years, like, yo, I'd be 1 more year away from starting my residencies. So that would chew away at me. And I'm just like, yo, I just can't fail because we didn't put so much time into this. And I would see people, when you get mentorship, it exposes you to what's really possible. You pull up in your house and you're just like, yo, you made this. How'd you make it? You make this doing what? Section 8 paid for this?
Yeah.
What? This is off of your real estate license? And I think for me, also a part, and I'm thinking and talking, so I'm sorry to be ranting, but I think a part of it is like I got exposed to a lot of like crazy ballers. So like when I would have success,
it never was like, how do I put this? I hate to say this, but it was never really good enough. You know, everything I'm doing now, I still feel like I'm not doing what X is doing. Or I know, like right now, I'm gonna do maybe 18 projects this year. Maybe it depends. I'm trying to buy at least 1 or 2 a month. Right now, we're on track. We don't know if that's going to go. Keep going like that. But that means that if I do 2 a month, I'm at 24, which I'll typically do duplex, triplex. So let's say that's a minimum of 48 units this year. Fantastic, right? But I also have a mentor who's doing new construction 48 units right now, and he's about to break ground on another project. So he's going to do double what I'm going to do off of 2 projects. Off of 2 projects. I'm over here going here, I'm going there, I'm going there. Yeah. Off of 2 projects, he's doing twice my volume. So it's just like, well, we're doing well, but how do we?
It's always that next. Yeah, it's like motivation.
What's the next? And what I love about when you reach a level of financial freedom is like you don't even do it for the money anymore. Like I could retire if I wanted to. It'd be fine.
It's just for the game.
It's just for the game, bro. It's just for the game. I love when stuff clicks. I love these systems. I love, like, one of my favorite things about renovating is you see what that piece of crap was, and you see what it looks like after you finish with it. And what I like is I see where my demo crew did what they did. I see where the framer came through. I see where the plumber came through. The electrician, HVAC guy, the tile, the floors, the maid. Like I see where everybody played a part, and then boom. Person walks into his house and we'll take it. That's like, can't put a price on that. That's just like, next. What's next, baby? What's next? I mean, it's just you just conquer it. You know what I mean? So,
Painting Picasso.
Yeah. Picasso. I mean, you don't stop at Picasso like, that's it. You know what I mean? No, you say, give me blank canvas, next. Let's go. I mean, what else I got? You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, for me, like I just don't know what I'm capable of, so I can't ever look at any piece of work and be like, "Yo, it's not that smart." No, we don't know that. We don't know that. So I just, I want to see what I got in the tank until I don't have anything left. I think as I just ranted through this, I think that's like what drives me the most. I genuinely just want to see what I'm capable of.
I think that's a good point to end on. That's powerful, Ugo. We'd like to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh man, I think we gotta bring this one back. It's a lot of stuff. There's so many topics we cover here that really need their own time.
We're gonna need a part 2 for sure. We're gonna need a part 2 for sure. This is our first real estate pepper soup talk.
Okay.
And even just from like having this conversation, you just realize like how broad real estate is. And investing in real estate, and there's just so much to it, and and you got a lot. There's a lot more in the tank to really be talk about.
We ain't even talk about real estate on the paper side, not even on the brick side. We ain't even talk real estate on the paper. Let me stop. We ain't talk about it. Let me stop.
No, we will definitely love to run this back. What can they find you?
Instagram, Philly Real Estate King, most humblest person online right now. And that's it. Philly Real Estate King on Instagram is the best way to get in. This is the best way to get in contact with me.
Perfect. So we'd like to thank you for tuning into another episode of the Pepper Soup Talk Show.
Hey.
We're here with agent, investor, contractor, consultant.
Oh my God.
Ugo The Agent.
Yes,
Ugo Chukwu. Igbo man.
Igbo quick.
We're here bi-weekly on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We are excited to see you at the next one. And until then, have a good weekend.
Peace.
Yeah.